been observed.
So then how is evolution true when we can't observe it? Even
There's just no
today.
better theory.
No. You don't understand. The theory is explaining that haploids turn into diploids of another species. We've never seen that model. Evolution has never been true.
Are haploids going into diploids literally not just how we reproduce? Sperm cells and egg cells turning into zygotes. That's just haploids going into diploids.
For
We've
which
seen
cell?
that.
For which cell?
How do you mean?
Prokaryotes were the first life forms on the planet, right? Would that have been the case?
Well,
for
our
a
last common
prokaryotic
ancestor,
cell?
from what we understand, yeah.
No. Would that have been the case for a do prokaryotes reproduce sexually?
No.
No. So it wouldn't have been the case, right? So I got you with that.
It would have happened after they had gotten mitochondria.
Which mitochondria are in which cell? Eukaryotes.
Well, mitochondria already existed outside of eukaryotes. They were existing living creatures before.
Where?
Where?
What do you mean where?
Because
where would they have been? The only two of all life forms on the planet, they're either prokaryotes or eukaryotes. If eukaryotes are separate, and they're the only ones with mitochondria, where would the mitochondria have existed if
mitochondria were bacteria beforehand? Like they were living.
Prokaryotes don't have mitochondria. They have.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, so where would the mitochondria have been?
Mitochondria were independent before they interacted with prokaryotes. In the same place as prokaryotes. They existed in the same medium.
Mitochondria was independent before.
It was very inefficient because it worked on its own. When they interacted with prokaryotes.
Okay. You saying mitochondria was on its own. So you're telling me that mitochondria was a prokaryote? That's all I want you to answer. Are you telling me that this mitochondria was an autotroph? You see what I'm saying? Self-reproducing organism, and now it went into an organism that needs genetic information from other organisms. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that's what we understand.
So that's not a prokaryotic cell. That's a virus. That's what a virus does. You see what I'm saying?
And then it interacted
viruses are what? Made up of few molecules. You see what I'm saying? This is why they need vitamins, minerals from a whole cell. And what's the whole cell? The eukaryotic cell. That's why they say mitochondria is for your energy production. You see what I'm saying to you? So y'all keep trying to come up here and tell us about mitochondria or evolution or change or time, but you're not telling me what is the morphological and chemical changes that is taking place for these engulfments to happen. How did the mitochondria, which has its own DNA, right, get into a cell that has its own DNA, and then the nucleus has its own DNA, and then the endoplasmic reticulum has its own DNA, then the central has its own DNA from different origins. How did they all get grouped up together if you're telling me that a mitochondria was an autotroph? It was self-feeding. It went away from being self-feeding to now being around this whole group of viruses to now bring up a cell, is what you're telling me. That has never been observed.
Mitochondria joining into other cells was just more efficient. Like mitochondria being on its own was very inefficient.
So it couldn't exist in the environment by itself?
It existed, but it was inefficient. It's not impossible.
So okay then. So if it was inefficient, that's not a prokaryote. That's not a prokaryotic cell.
Prokaryotes are efficient and compact. That's the literally, I'm so glad you said efficient, because literally the definition, the genetic expression of prokaryotes are that their genes and their genetic expression is compact and efficient. They were the only life forms on the planet for billions of years until eukaryotes came in through the process of so-called evolution. What's so-called evolution? So-called, one theory is endosymbiosis. Is it in the genetic expression for a prokaryote to engulf itself to create a new species when prokaryotes split through binary fission and make replicas and copies of themselves? Where would recessive and allelic and an excessive amount of alleles come from when all of his genetic material is dominant?
Exactly. And again, the mitochondria, uh, dang, I was gonna say something, but she was going on. I'm gonna add on later. But she
Okay,
cooked for that one.
yeah, facts. Gratitude. Velo, evolution, the biggest lie we're told. How do you feel about the prompt using science?
Oh,
I mean,
wait,
I was gonna. I was.
yeah, before you do that, I was going to say the mitochondria is an organelle. You see what I'm saying? Organelles are spliced and man-made in labs. I just wanted you to let you know that because every organism in nature, their natural melanin is what powers up their entire cells. So they also have prokaryotes. A lion, a zebra, bees, they all are prokaryotes. They just have natural melanins like phenol and EU melanin that's surrounding their cells and functioning their cells. For us so-called black people, we have neuromelanin. So no organism in nature has mitochondria but eukaryotic cells, which are spliced. I just wanted to add that. Go ahead, Velo.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna jump in back into the prokaryote and eukaryote discussion. I was gonna defend the concept of endosymbiosis. I was gonna start off by saying that obviously, prokaryotes were the first cells. I think it's commonly known that they were created in these hydrothermic vents in the ocean, where it's basically just a bunch of atoms, mixing in there for a long time until eventually a prokaryote was created. And then obviously through endosymbiosis, prokaryotes include archaea and bacteria, and it's commonly believed that the bacteria, or no, the archaea absorb the bacteria holding the mitochondria to create the eukaryotic cells.
Again, prokaryotes, it is not within their genetic expression to engulf. They don't engulf to create an entirely different species. I don't understand why that doesn't make sense to y'all.
Because
With
you've studied
prokaryotes will
prokaryotes.
reproduce themselves. They make copies of
Are you a
themselves. Oh,
prokaryotic
Paul,
expert?
let me actually speak, okay? I didn't cut you off, so don't cut me off, all right? Your background is also loud as fuck too. All right? Prokaryotes they reproduce asexually. They make copies of themselves through binary fission, which is done through vertical gene transfer, old pole to new pole. So I don't understand why y'all can't get it through y'all's heads that a prokaryote will not create another species outside of itself. It can only make a copy. So-called black people make copies biochemically, chemically, biologically, anatomically, and physiologically of themselves. We don't have incomplete dominance, y'all. Y'all will have your mother can be blonde and your father can have black hair and you will have brown hair with red fucking eyebrows because of an excessive amount of alleles. We can calculate speciation and microevolution with simple division and allelic frequency. I don't understand why y'all are like not getting that.
Yep, the codons and the locus of your chromosomes explain how y'all have incomplete dominance genes. When your chromosomes come together via sexual reproduction, they only share percentages of genes. They don't fuse together fully like how natural life does. You see what I'm saying? So that shows us that y'all are making a whole new species every time y'all procreating because your children, your kids actually, they're receiving uneven percentages of animal DNA and all the other animal DNA that y'all have to the child.
Yeah, y'all are saying that the environment, the organisms adapt to the environment, right? What the environment that we're in is basically a eukaryotic environment. This is what is widely used in synthetic biology, the creation of eukaryotic environments, right? So the thing is that the genotypic expression does not change because of the environment. We've never seen that. All right, we can see adaptations, but evolution, in order for it to be evolution, there needs to be a change in the genome. That's what makes it a different species. Okay, so I got you with that, Velo. Let's see, F14. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell me how you feel using science, please. You're on mute. Go ahead. You're on mute. I can't hear you. I see you're off mute, but I can't hear you. So you might have to request back up. All right. You might have to request back up. Country boy, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. How do you feel about the prompt using science?
Hey, I'd have to agree. Just using science and my own common sense and my own observations. I've been hunting and fishing in my whole life. I've lived out in the woods my whole life. My grandfather has had me out in the woods, showing me stuff my whole life. But just using my own common sense, because if evolution were to be real, it would be its own entity. It would be an entity in itself and have its own laws and have its own way of doing things, because it seems like it picks and chooses when it wants to cut evolution on and off. And that bothers me, because I feel like if evolution was a real thing, it wouldn't be it would be a elemental force of nature rather than one you could flick on and off, if that makes sense. But thanks for having me up. My name is Will. I'm from Georgia, 36 years old.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, we ain't hear what you had to say about that.
We're asking how you got on the planet.
Yeah, like what is your biological identification to the planet?
I'm confused, but I guess I'm not smart enough to join this conversation.
Nobody said anything about smart enough.
I'm confused
We
about
were
what you're
asking
asking.
you a question. Your scientists are saying that you share DNA with pigs, chimpanzees, monkeys, dogs, cats, zebrafish, celery, potatoes, lice, houseflies, ticks. How did all of this get within your genome when these things don't naturally reproduce with each other in nature?
Sounds like if I couldn't speak on that. I'm not sure. It sounds like we're part of one big pot of stew. If that would be the case. So.
No, because we don't naturally, our people don't produce animal proteins and enzymes. So like when we walk past y'all, we can literally smell the animal proteins on y'all. And there are a lot of people that of your species that will say when y'all smell us that we smell sweet. So the thing is that we're not producing the same enzymes.
What are we talking
And
about?
that's because look, you're saying what the hell are we talking about, but you couldn't explain it. All right? You share DNA with pigs and dogs. We can smell it. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm saying that there's a genetic explanation as to why that is a thing. All right. There's a reason why you can't synthesize solar and terrestrial radiation. And he left. I didn't take him off. So this is the science behind your DNA. I thought you knew that. Especially if someone's going to say, oh, we're all one big pot of stew. That means you would have to know that about yourself. All right. So try better next time. Explain it better next time. All right. F14. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead using science.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So y'all think we evolved from monkeys, right?
Nah, that's not what we've been saying.
Man, you've been sitting here the whole time, man.
It says the evolution theory is the biggest lie ever told. So-called black people don't have animal DNA. We don't have animal proteins and enzymes. Prokaryotes never change into eukaryotes. So this is what we're saying. If you're saying that that is the truth, you go ahead and explain that, because that is the base premise of evolution. It's about how prokaryotes and eukaryotes are in existence.
No, I was just wondering, because like y'all make it sound like not the thing, but like the evolution biggest lie ever told, and then the monkey picture, like it makes it seem like y'all are saying we evolved from monkeys.
How? When it says that evolution, the biggest lie ever told.
Because there's different opinions. It's not just one opinion, not yours.
So what's yours?
Mine is the same thing as yours. We don't evolve from monkeys.
So then where do y'all come from?
What do you mean where we come from?
See?
You know you didn't come from monkeys, so don't act confused like you don't know where you came from now. Where do you come from if it's not from monkeys?
Okay, do you read the Bible?
Nah, that's not. That's not what we asked
No.
you, but I got you, bro. I got you. Go ahead, Velo. You been in the comments.
Wait, hold on.
Oh, who is
Nah,
it?
he already spoke.
He already spoke.
We just getting everybody that hasn't
okay.
spoke.
Okay, my fault, y'all.
Go ops. Go ahead. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and explain using science how you feel about the prompt.
Well, based off of what y'all was saying, that's not logical because black people do have was I muted? Oh, I guess not. Black people do have animal DNA. I don't know where you got that from. We all have primate DNA. So
Can you prove that?
Yeah, can you prove that genetically and phenotypically?
yeah, I can kind of prove it with how we act.
No.
Our day-to-day actions.
No, genetically, please. Because if you're saying that we have primate DNA, then you need to tell me what about the genetics.
What about the human
Shows that
genetics
we
that
are
is related to primates DNA?
yes.
That's what you want to know?
Yeah, is there a chromosome you can point out? Is there a genetic marker? Is
Okay,
there
well,
a
I don't have all this
mutation?
stuff just
Yeah,
pulled up
like
right off the bat, so now I have
what
to do
elemental
research.
atoms is both the DNA made up of? Can you tell us?
Yeah,
The
humans are
atoms that the DNA is made up of? I mean, the proteins?
No, the proteins are
The
made from the
atoms?
DNA.
Yep.
No. The protein enzymes are made from actual amino acids, which comes from the DNA. I'm telling you about the elemental atoms that make up the composition of the DNA. You said we
I'm
have
not
the
gonna get
same.
that deep
You
with
out
the
your
atoms. We
own
can say
mouth,
the
my brother. My brother. You said out your own mouth that so-called black people have the same DNA as monkeys. That's a strong statement. So you gonna need to prove that through biochemical substances and through phenotypes. Go ahead and explain that.
I said primates. I didn't
What do you
say
think a primate is? Go ahead, brother. Go ahead
I
and tell
said
us how we have.
a
Go ahead and
primate.
explain. Look,
A
go
primate
ahead and
is something
explain.
that can. Okay, hold on. Because I'm finna get y'all first answer.
Nah,
Real
y'all,
quick.
it's late on my end. Hope you guys do good.
What the hell?
So you don't know?
You don't know.
scientific.
Wait, you want me to give you the definition of a primate, or do you want me to give you?
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead
I
and
ain't
get
gonna
to the
lie.
next. Yeah, all right.
I had to just do that because that's exactly what we asked you. I'm not here to play no games. Like our people are playing dumb. Y'all are not dumb. The fuck, y'all know how to make context clues and connections in the brain. The fuck, we the primordials of the entire cosmos, and y'all acting like this. Come on, man. This ain't the same brothers I built the pyramids with. This ain't the same brothers I navigated the cosmos with. This ain't the same brothers that we protected our children with. The fuck? We got to protect our people with intellect first.
Yeah, for real. Jesse, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell us how you feel with science.
Yeah, so evolution's been scientifically proven. It's not a lie.
Go ahead and explain how the engulfment was proven in nature.
How what was the engulfment? Is that what you said?
Yes. Of a prokaryote, between a prokaryote and a eukaryotic cell.
The engulfment?
Yes. Endosymbiosis, please. Go ahead. 1, 2, 3, go.
I didn't know the prompt was about endo.
Man, see, y'all don't understand evolution.
Why did you
No,
throw
I do understand
That's the
evolution.
problem.
at him like that?
Like,
Okay, no over talking. We'll get to everybody, all right?
I mean,
So
I
if you
do
over talk, you
understand
will be dropped.
evolution.
Why the
Go ahead and
curveball?
explain how prokaryotes engulfed one another to create a eukaryotic cell.
People don't just know this shit.
Then why we're quest up? So he don't know. So thank you.
Because
Yep,
that's
thanks for
not what the
speaking.
prompt was about.
No, how you gonna tell me what my prompt is about, bro? Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Agree or not? Do
I
you
told
agree
you.
or not? Okay, so then
Evolution is scientifically proven.
explain it, please.
Explain the science that proves evolution.
Okay, it's very simple. So all evolution is genes passed on through generations from species or of the same species as they reproduce, and evolute based on like your environment. If there are traits that are created as mutations occur that are favorable, those traits last because those people survive, versus people who die because they don't have favorable traits, and then
We're gonna have to say
progress.
unalived. F1 in the chat. This TikTok live is for educational purposes only, and you're giving me the definition, like some connotated, convoluted ass, you know what I'm saying, like definition of evolution, and I'm asking you to explain it. Don't give me the definition. I'm asking you to explain the theory and the engulfment between a prokaryotic organism and a eukaryotic organism.
Exactly, because we know genes gets passed down from species to species from their offspring. You don't got to tell us the definition of genes. Go ahead and tell us where the prokaryote acquired the genes, the protein enzymes, and the amino acids to create and to give birth to a eukaryote, or what engulfment happened to where that eukaryote happened, and you're going to have to explain it through morphological processes, through chemical processes. That's all we're asking. That's it.
All right, so the next guest was user 3030. Evolution, the biggest lie we're told. How you feel about the prompt using science? User 3030 70 95 11 80 0. Go ahead. You're on mute. Go ahead. User 3030. Request back up. All right, so I think it was glitch. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell us how you feel about the prompt using science.
Yeah, I don't think it's a lie. I think there's lots of science that converges to show that it's demonstrably true. And I'd like to pull up a slide with a list of things if I could.
Yeah, he think he's slick. That's the account that posted corn.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he posted a corn scene last time. That's why, yep. So he's not slick. He was finna wait for us to get his attention. He was gonna post something inappropriate. So he's been blocked, and we're gonna move on. Let's see. I think it was, I ain't gonna lie, I don't really know. Go ahead, Angry. Who is this? Angry who? Go ahead. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Tell us how you feel with.
So my stance is that you're a coon bitch, and I hope somebody beats you to death with hammers.
That's how you feel.
That's
that's genetic expression. But the thing is that you're upset because you can't prove your existence to the planet.
Yeah.
That's why you're upset. You're upset because you can't synthesize solar and terrestrial radiation. You're upset because you undergo acute body radiation. You're upset because you get sunburn. You're upset because it takes you 24 hours to regenerate your cells while it only takes mine 20 minutes. You're upset because my entire integumentary system shows that I'm connected not only to the planet, but to the entire cosmos. You're upset because every day y'all finding new fucking ways to cosplay our women, to cosplay our men, because that so-called love that y'all have is also the schmate that you show. So you're at war with yourself. That's what we're talking about with your DNA. Y'all spliceosomes, protein synthesis, your brains, your neurons, the type of the melanin that you have is not working in unison with itself. So of course you would come in here and express your genetics and express your behavior to be that way. It makes perfect sense to me. You can call me names, but I'm asking you how you got on the planet. I don't care about a AI, artificial intelligence, you know what I'm saying? Trying to like, oh, you're this, you're that. You're unnatural, bitch. How about we talk about the story of the literally, because this is a story that y'all came out with. Bitches and sons of bitches is connected to y'all. So that's not, I never use that word for our people, but I always use it for y'all because you express your genes that way, because you smell that way, because y'all created that story about yourselves, because y'all are the ones that are on all fours with hypertrichosis, still being born with vestigial tails, because y'all are the ones that have congenital hypertrichosis. Y'all are the ones undergoing genetic mutations because of UV radiation. Scientists are saying that the primary cause of every single genetic mutation that we see is because of the sun. And you're calling me names?
Exactly. And
like,
the thing
it doesn't matter, bro.
Before you even said those words to us, you had to say it to all your cells first. You had to say it to your mind first. So that's the thing. You were talking to yourself and you just told us what you said to yourself. That's all you did. I just wanted you to know that that's a mental illness that y'all have because y'all brain is not growing and developing correctly because the DNA within your brain within all of your neurons, they don't share the same DNA within their nucleus. They have different animals, so your brain doesn't know electrically what to form into. Your brain and your body
Dude,
don't
what are
know
you
what to
even
form into.
saying?
All right, thanks for playing, because you haven't said nothing. All right, we asked you the same question we asked everybody else and didn't get an answer. So you're not even supposed to be up here, huh? Thanks for playing. All right, so let's get to just for UB.
All right,
Evolution,
so
the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and explain how you feel using science.
using science, okay, so you guys are denying, like, how do you think that, like, humans, like, came to be? Like, do you believe in God or something?
No, don't ask us any questions. You requested up. You either agree or
Okay,
disagree
so
with
but
us
you,
on the
you're
prompt.
telling
If you
people that
ever
you asked
talk
them to
me
prove,
again, I
and
will just take you off the
We're just taking
panel.
you off. We're not playing with y'all. It says no over talking on the screen. Y'all trying to act big, but you don't have the science to explain your existence. And if y'all can't explain your existence, why are my people and your people still living in the same society with each other? Why are your people trying to police us, medically evaluate us, and psychologically evaluate us when we're not the same genetically and you have no biological identification to this planet? The same way y'all ask us, your police ask us, what's your ID? This plastic ass, laminated ass paper. No, what is your biological identification to the planet? What is your DNA? Where is your DNA found on this planet? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, you're saying that we're slow, but our premise is stated on the screen, and you still fucking asked us. Fuck. So the thing is, Alex, with science, please, okay? With science, explain how you feel about the prompt.
Hey guys. So I just want to, like, obviously what that girl said wasn't cool, but, like, you guys shouldn't just come back with more racism. That also wasn't very cool. And then, second of all, you guys know.
All right, AC Bryant, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell me how you feel about the prompt using science, please.
Okay, so I feel that evolution is not a lie.
Stop playing, bro. Stop playing.
Hold
Don't
up,
play
wait,
with me,
Will,
fam.
hold up, Will, hold up.
Crowdy, don't play with me. Crowdy, tutu's my words, fam.
Hello.
Go.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Am I on? This is Alan.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. Well, evolution is real. You know, the Bible claims that we all came from Adam and Eve. Well,
Using
maybe
science,
Adam and
please.
Eve were our ancestors that came out of Africa. Science has proven that we have evolved from some thing that's not quite human. And as a matter of fact, the bonobo chimp has more DNA like us than any other animal in the planet. So yes, we are related some way. Now, it's not that we came directly from monkeys. It's to become, there's a missing link somewhere between the monkeys and us. And we also know that there's people that have Neanderthal blood in them, even though I can't remember, the whiter group survived. Some of our ancestors lived and didn't survive. And we, as a group, we had to get by together. We had to take care of each other. Otherwise, we would not, any of us, be on this planet. There's many times with this human race almost died out. And thanks for genetic.
We got to say unalive. This TikTok live is for educational purposes only. We do have to use TikTok friendly language. So I'm just going to go ahead and stop you right there. I heard your base premise on what you were saying. You believe in religion, but then you're also using science. I don't understand that. I don't understand how we could have all came from Adam and Eve when they had children and the children procreated with their siblings. You don't find that a little suspicious? You're on mute.
Better tuck that nigger lip in when you're talking to me.
Hey, real quick.
Alan, go ahead. Alan, you're on mute. Go ahead. All right, so we're just going to move on. All right, so Let's
Hey,
see.
what's going on?
Can you stop over talking? All right. Can you chill? Don't forget, evolution, the biggest lie we're told. How do you feel about the prompt using science?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think evolution is real, and we have people living amongst us that are, for example, my mother-in-law. When you look at her, you realize that we evolved from something.
All right, so let's see. Presley, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. How do you feel about the prompt using science? You're on mute.
Okay, so what do you mean?
Brittany, Elko, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell me how you feel about the prompt using science.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when we say lie and we talk about like the concept of like theories and truth and everything else, I just don't feel like we're scientifically based at all in any way that can be respectable to any sort of intelligent conversation.
Go ahead and
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie.
What
You
the
here to
hell,
play,
bro?
man. See, these people can't explain their existence, and we living with these people.
Yeah,
These
that's
are
the
doctors.
problem.
These are children's teachers, and we
Yeah.
thinking this is a safe society when they've only shown us that they can perform atrocious acts to us.
Yeah, so Zine, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. How do you feel about the prompt using science?
Okay, so using science, we share 99% of our DNA with similar primates. 99.9% of our DNA. Small genetic mutations over time cause us to evolve into what we are today. We are Homo sapiens. It's just those small genetic mutations over time, and via natural selection, we're just the ones that happen to survive.
So again, when it comes to prokaryotic organisms that have a different embryological origin than eukaryotes.
What are you talking about?
Look, can y'all just, if I don't, look, I'm gonna get you out of here because this is what keep happening. As soon as I respond, y'all start over talking. You can tell me I'm wrong all day long. Be respectful though. I'm not cutting y'all off and y'all are saying bullshit. Like what the fuck?
Yeah.
So who is this?
Y'all want to keep starting with the primates.
Yeah.
The primate is not the start of evolution. Telling me about a primate that's been spliced into existence is not telling me about evolution. You're telling me about a Neanderthal that's spliced, and you're telling me a Homo sapien that's spliced. They took the MUC19 gene and took that from the Neanderthal and put it inside the Homo sapiens. And when I say they, I'm talking about the reptilian 13 bloodlines that spliced y'all into existence. So that's all I'm saying. Y'all, we can clearly see how genetics been passed on through artificial selection because your DNA, your whole genomic sequence doesn't have one set of genes. You have multiple set of genes from multiple organisms, from multiple embryological origins. Do you see any natural living organisms in nature having multiple embryological origins? No. So why do you come up here talking about the monkey when this is about the cells within the monkey?
All right, so let me get to Jesse, we already heard you speak. Alan, we already heard you speak. Let's see. Have we heard AC Bryant?
No, I didn't get to speak because I got interrupted by another guest.
Okay, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and explain how you feel using science.
Okay, so evolution is not a lie because DNA proves it, right? Because all life shares DNA connections, right? We all share DNA on some certain level, right? And this means, right, that we share the same roots. We share the same DNA for cellular processes with plants, right? The same way we share the same cellular processes with animals, right? And we share that with animals more so, right? Because we ourselves as Homo sapiens, as human beings, are animals, right? So of course, we would share more DNA with other animals, right? We share DNA with jellyfish, fruit flies, right? And yada, 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 right? And as we go down the line, right, we see that we as human beings can see where we fit on the tree of life, right, by the level of DNA and genetic connection that we share with other life forms, right? And at that, we share the most DNA and genetics with primates, right? So we can see that we are primates ourselves because we share the most DNA with them, right? And so logically, we would have to connect that with us also being primates, right? And this just goes to show that DNA is the all be it end all to the evidence for evolution. How do y'all feel about that?
The thing is that just because organisms share DNA doesn't mean that they share it naturally. We can look at several organisms, like the primates that you're talking about, have introgress genes. So the thing is that you're telling me, oh, we share this DNA. How did the cell come about? How did these organisms come about? If these organisms don't find each other attractive in nature to procreate with each other, how did it get within your genome?
Exactly.
Okay, so let me just clarify. Your question to me that I have to answer is, how did the cell come about?
Yeah, how did the eukaryotic cell come about?
That makes up the monkeys that you're telling me about, the organisms that you're telling me about.
Okay, so the eukaryote. So in general, right? When we talk about evolution, right, is a difference between how the quote unquote cell that we know came about. That's abiogenesis, right? But when you talk about how eukaryotic cells came about, right, that would be through evolution, right? Eukaryotic cells are not a multi-celled organisms, right? Not two or three, right? Eukaryotic it could be something as simple as a what's it called? It starts with a P. It's a type of, not a bacteria. It's a can y'all find the word for me? It starts with a P. It's a eukaryotic organism that is single celled, right? Like I'm brain fart right now. I'm sorry about that, but I don't want to seem like uneducated. But like, you know, like y'all are really hard to like conversate with. So like it's like, you know, I'm a little bit nervous. But not prokaryotes, because prokaryotes are different.
I hate fucking nigger.
I'm sorry, like that just ruins it for me too. Like I can't even think after someone does that. Like, okay, so like I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I brain farted right there. I apologize to y'all.
Now you good. Just go ahead and tell us how the eukaryote came into existence, because the cell that you were trying to tell me from abiogenesis is still, we're still talking about the same cell here. The same cell that makes up chimpanzees is the same cells that eukaryotes are. So go ahead and tell us how eukaryotes came into existence. That's all we need from you.
So I might get kicked for this. If I do, I do, right? I couldn't tell you exactly how eukaryotic organisms came into existence, right? I could tell you that they split off from prokaryotes, right? That prokaryotes are more simple, right? And that eukaryotes have more complex organs within them, right? Like organelles, right? But in the way that eukaryotes came about, right, we have plants and animals, right? So obviously, like whatever happened in the early stages of life, right, that was what was naturally selected for. Is that a sufficient answer for y'all, or like?
I mean, it's sufficient. It just doesn't answer our question. You're saying that you can't prove how eukaryotes got on the planet, which is what I asked you. What's the origin of the cell? You said that it branched off from prokaryotes, but you don't know the origin of the cell. So I don't know how to continue the conversation with you. That's the thing. It's not that I'm going to kick you for it. I was kicking these people because they were over talking me and they weren't answering my question. So that's the thing.
I'll come back. I'll come back next time y'all are live, and like I'll have a better argument for it. So I'm gonna drop myself, but thank you for having me.
It's not a better argument
Yeah.
to have because we've never seen the engulfment to date.
Well, no-
We've only seen it modeled in vitro. We haven't seen it modeled in nature.
What I'm saying is,
Endosymbiosis
I'll come
can
back. I'll
only-
research more, and I'll have like a better conversation for y'all. So I apologize for not like being able to continue it. So I apologize, but I'm gonna drop right now.
All right, you can't tell us where eukaryotes came from. You can't tell us about your existence. You're saying you're gonna go research to see if you can find out about your existence. Go ahead and do that. You see what I'm saying?
Of course.
You don't have to come back. That's your DNA.
Yeah, that. All you're doing is going to learn about your DNA and its unnatural place on this planet. That's all you're going to do. I'm just letting you know that.
So let's see. I think it was Jacob, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell us how you feel using science, please.
All right. So you guys, you don't need to like prove, like I don't need to explain how like eukaryotic cells, prokaryotic cells like came onto Earth to prove evolution. Those are like, you don't need to do that. Those are two different questions.
Oh, okay. So bet. So go ahead and tell us.
Tell you what? Like
How
prove
evolution is.
Like,
how
what do you mean?
evolution
Tell
came
us
to
how.
be.
Yeah.
If it's
like
not through that,
the previous
what is it?
guest like genuinely already proved that. Like you're asking two different things.
No,
like
that's
you don't
not-
have.
don't worry about the guest.
Back off of nobody else. Tell us how.
Listen, you guys don't
eukaryotic
have.
cells
You guys
come about.
Fucking Google.
You guys don't have an
Okay.
answer for the other guest. Like you didn't. Instead of like actually taking his argument about
Are you here to talk on the behalf of other
That's-
people or yourself?
Yeah,
Like you
that's-
sat here patiently to what? Tell me your feelings. On the outside of the live, it says bring science and not feelings.
Yeah, we're not here to
I'm
hear
not here
what you
for that.
feel about what we're saying. What do you know about what we're saying? And if it's not true, debunk it. If anybody who's in here, if what we're saying is not factual and doesn't align with the rhythms and cycles of nature, go ahead and tell us through science how we're wrong, and we will shut this live off.
Okay, Moon. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell us how you feel about the prompt using science.
Okay, I've never come up here before. So you're asking me, how is evolution proven based on science? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, in science, we can't prove anything, but we only can go with evidence. So there's lots of evidence for evolution. So you look at fossil evidence, you can look at embryological evidence, and there's many other forms. Because it's a theory, you put all of these different things together to support the theory, but it can change. But there's tons of evidence for evolution. And I hear you keep talking about the how did eukaryotic cells come about? And are you trying to talk about the endosymbiotic theory? Because you're kind of endosymbiotic theory can be a part of the theory of evolution, but like the caller said before, those are kind of distinct. But endosymbiotic theory does explain how we started from protists and ended up with eukaryotic cells.
Can you go ahead and explain that?
Yep.
you guys are
Endosymbiotic
fucking
theory?
retarded. Like genuinely, both of you guys know that you guys are.
Thank you for telling us that. But can you explain your existence on this planet? That's all we want to know. So go ahead, Moonstar.
Okay, I'm going pretty, this is off the top of my head, but endosymbiotic theory.
I have a guest violation warning. F1 in the chat.
So the presupposition is that we started with prokaryotic cells, and we start with prokaryotic because that is the oldest living thing that we've been able to find. Okay. And so there is evidence that at one point of time, millions and millions, like billions. I don't know what that is. Years ago, that a prokaryotic cell engulfed, or you could say, eating is not really the correct word, but engulfed another prokaryotic cell, because you had prokaryotic cells that actually had chloroplasts, so they had the ability to do photosynthesis. And so those protists that engulfed that chloroplast, they therefore gained the ability to do photosynthesis. And so that kind of leads to where we go from plants, where the others, they engulfed a different type of prokaryotic cell. So when we talk about cell organelles like the chloroplast and the mitochondria, they have their own individual DNA. They don't share the same DNA as our cells. And so their DNA is very similar to the type of DNA that you would see in a bacterial or individual prokaryotic cell. And so even to this day, all of us, we are eukaryotic organisms. We're multicellular. Eukaryotic mostly is just referring to the fact that we have a nucleus. That's the main difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic, with the exception of protists. Protists can be a little bit different. But mainly eukaryotic means that we have a nucleus, and in our nucleus we have DNA. But we have mitochondria, which serves a specific function, and mitochondria has its own distinct DNA that's actually passed down through the mother, which is why you can use mitochondrial DNA to look at your lineage or where you're from, because it's passed down from mother to mother.
You just gave us the definitions of everything. You didn't explain the engulfment and the connection between all life forms, because again, you've been sitting here for a long time. So you've heard us say that cats and dogs have introgress genes. Nature does not perform introgression. So how did this genetic material come together to create an organism for it to be within the so-called human genome?
Exactly, because
Endosymbiotic. I just explained endosymbiotic theory. I just explained.
I'm gonna ask you again, okay?
Okay.
Cats and dogs, cows, horses, sheep, rats, celery, kale, cruciferous vegetables have introgress genes. Do you know what introgression is?
I do not. I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay. Introgression is where you take genetic material from another place, and it is fused together through a medium of hybridization, meaning that organism is not 100% that organism, because it shares genetic material with other organisms to function. So cats, dogs, all of the human genome, the origin of the cells for all of these organisms, microorganisms, plants, animals, and insects, genes have been introgressed. These are not natural biogenetic prokaryotic functioning organisms where they have a single embryological origin and all of their genetic material comes from one place and they have a single set of chromosomes.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that prokaryotes don't have chloroplasts. They have chromospheres, which comes from their pyomelanin that allows them to condense sunlight. Chloroplast is an organelle that's found in plants or synthetic plants. Organelles are also found in humans among centrals, and centrals is a protein that is supposed to be for animals, which is all. So how did chloroplast and something for animals, which is the central, these two proteins are found working together in the same cell? Because no prokaryotes has mitochondria. That's the most distinct.
They don't.
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second.
They don't. So I'm gonna.
Hold on for a second.
Okay.
Hold on for a second. I got you. You see what I'm saying? So again, prokaryotes don't have mitochondria because mitochondria is an organelle. And when
organelle?
I don't look, y'all can tell me that I'm pronouncing things wrong and stuff like that. I don't care. I know the functionality of what I'm talking about. You're the one who don't. That's all I'm saying. So when I'm talking, like, let's respect each other and allow each other to finish. So again, prokaryotes don't have membrane bound organelles or whatever you want to say, because that is the most distinct differentiation that you make from a prokaryote to a eukaryote. So what you're telling me is that these prokaryotes was eukaryotes, and you're just you're just slapping the name prokaryote, but it has nothing to do with the functionality of the prokaryote. That's the problem that you just gave us with that cell that you were describing during endosymbiosis. You didn't tell us where this prokaryote gained the organelles to pass on to now an offspring or to engulf another organism. You didn't tell us where this came from. You saying they already had it, but all prokaryotes have no nucleus and no membrane-bound organelles. They don't have that. They don't have none of those things. They only have a single set of chromosome and single set of genes. That's all they have. And they have, what's it called? Plasmids. They have cytoplasm. You see what I'm saying? They have flagella, but they don't have no organelles or membranes for them to do that.
Yes, everything that you said was correct. I didn't say that membrane-bound organelles. What I'm saying is that you were initially talking about the rise of the eukaryotic cell. And I was trying to explain that at one point, chloroplast, that was an individual cell, and mitochondria were individual cells. And we know that prokaryote cells will engulf or eat other cells. I don't want to use the terminology eating because in endosymbiotic theory, the chloroplast and the mitochondria that was engulfed was not digested per se, but the chloroplast, it's its own little cell, and it has the ability to do photosynthesis. And so when engulfed by another prokaryotic cell, that new prokaryotic cell now gains the ability to do photosynthesis, which eventually gives rise to the plant kingdom, where on the other hand, you have mitochondria. And so when a prokaryotic cell engulfs the mitochondria, they now have the ability to produce ATP. And now that they've gained the ability to produce ATP, that gives us immense energy. And with immense energy, you can now have more efficient reproduction. You can do a lot with ATP, which is an energy source.
So if I just shoot a fat glob of nut into your face, does that kind of help prove evolution?
I don't know what I'm just trying. I know that's not you guys, but these people on here are discussing and making it difficult for us to just have a regular conversation.
It's a genetic
reason for that. That's what we're telling you. They keep expressing their genes differently than us because they have different genetics and a different embryological origin. And these are the people that you're saying that you naturally give birth to and create, by the way. Yeah, even though we've never seen that type of evolution, right? And the thing about it is this: I heard you say that prokaryotes perform photosynthesis. If they do that, what is the reason for them needing to engulf or eat anything when they eat from the sun and they're autotrophic organisms?
Okay, so we were talking about endosymbiotic theory, and I was explaining that a chloroplast individually was by itself, existing as a prokaryote, right? Cells have special abilities, just like humans have special abilities. But this chloroplast was engulfed by another prokaryotic cell. And then they formed a symbiotic relationship where now the cell that engulfed the chloroplast, which was by itself, can now do photosynthesis. Chloroplast and mitochondria, they have their own separate DNA as if they were individual organisms at one point in time.
Exactly. They're a different species. So why would a prokaryotic cell do something and perform an action, number one, outside of its species, to engulf something that has a completely different embryological origin of itself.
And chloroplast is a miniature organ for plants specifically. It only works with chlorophyll, with allomelanin. So you're telling me it was by itself? No, it wasn't.
Sir, yes.
No,
Sir,
no.
if you
Look,
look
I'm not
it
gonna
up,
repeat every time I want to speak to
chloroplast and
you.
mitochondria.
All right, go ahead. You can go ahead.
Go ahead. Like, we don't do over talking, so it's just we don't over talk you, but you over talk us. Go ahead and land, please. And you can stay up here. We'll just get to the next guest to let someone else speak. You're on mute. Go
Respond
ahead.
to everything we said too.
You're on mute, Moon. Go ahead. All right.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've just, I've never done this before.
You know how to not over talk someone when they're speaking. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I feel like we're just kind of going in circles, and I would just encourage you, along with, obviously you have a pretty, broad knowledge of science, and are very passionate about what you believe in. But I would encourage you to at least look up endosymbiotic theory and look up the current evidence for endosymbiotic theory, so that when you ask people about prokaryotes and eukaryotes, that you are fully prepared to have that conversation. I understand you keep saying that I'm not telling you, and I keep telling you over and over again, because you're looking for the origin of a eukaryotic cell. I think that's what we're talking about.
Okay, all right.
Now you
I got
playing.
you.
I ain't gonna lie, mother of life.
You've been here the
you
whole
playing.
live, and you've been discrediting us the whole time. Now you're saying I think. I got you. Thank you for sharing your frequency. Ultimately, I value you because you're my reflection. I'm just move to the next guest. You can stay up here, but let me just introduce the next person. All right, Craig Walton, Evolution, the biggest lie we're told. Explain why you requested up using science, please.
Yeah, so I'm mainly just gonna talk about what you were referring as introgressed genes. Introgression happens all the time. It's been observed in nature in a bunch of different animals, but specifically with introgressed genes, I think you have a bit of a fundamental misunderstanding. So you said that these introgressed genes, now this organism no longer is like its own organism because it has introgressed genes from another animal. But the thing is that the genes that actually introgress, so if you know a lot about genetics and what is in genetics, there are housekeeping genes, right? These are the genes that essentially keep you alive every single day. They're the genes that code for your ribosomal RNA. They're the genes that code for your cell membrane. They're the genes that code for, a bunch of different things. These genes are extremely tightly regulated, so regulated, in fact, that you could take the ribosomal RNA gene from a yeast cell, put it into your own cell, and you would still be able to make ribosomal RNA, right? And so when you say that, oh, this introgression event means that now they have these other organisms to survive, it doesn't even matter, because the things that are variable aren't the housekeeping genes that you're talking about. Those are extremely conserved, and that makes sense that they're highly conserved with the model of evolution, right? Why would there need to be a mutation for ribosomal RNA? 90%, not even 90, almost 100% of all the mutations of ribosomal RNA are deleterious, right? So they're going to kill off anything that has that mutation, right?
Can you just say unalive, please?
So,
F1 in the chat.
Oh, sorry, my fault. They would, be unalived, right? And so my entire purpose is that there's just a bit of a fundamental misunderstanding there, that an introgression event happens. These introgressed genes, they do exist. There are introgressed genes. We have DNA from Homo neanderthalensis.
you can look at introgression events. I was across this genus of tarantula called Aphonopelma. There are introgression topologies of phylogenetic mapping using mitochondrial DNA, mitochondrial sequences. And the thing that I do find very interesting is you focus so much on endosymbiosis and why a prokaryote has to engulf a eukaryote, but that's only one facet of evolution to describe like extreme common ancestry, right? But that doesn't even matter because that has nothing to do with the fundamental principle of evolution, which is that allele frequencies change over time and give rise to new traits over succeeding generations.
So, okay, here's the thing. You're just saying introgression. You're not, nature does not introgress. Introgression is a branch of genetic engineering. So you think that nature does not introgress. Introgression is a form of spontaneous generation, and the type of spontaneous generation is genetic engineering. The type of genetic engineering is the introgression, and there are several different mediums of hybridization. You have electroporation, cell sonication or sonoporation, transfecting cells, microinjection. So nature does not introgress. And I hear you keep saying that word, and I don't understand how we've ever seen nature model physically taking genetic material from one place and physically taking genetic material from another organism and fusing genes together using UV light. Like, come on now, using magnetism. That's what introgression is. There's a medium that has to be done through.
And that happens.
That's in vitro. That's not biogenesis.
And that's happening within your cells during transcription and translation of your DNA. That's happening. Spliceosomes are the enzymes that actually splice your DNA to try to fit the environment that you're in.
All right, but I got you with that. I just need to move on to the next guest and introduce their point. Okay, give me 1 second. All right. So, Amico, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Go ahead and tell me how you feel about the prompt using science, please, quickly.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to use actual examples instead of talking about, obviously people have been talking a lot about prokaryotes, eukaryotes. I just want to bring in some like real world examples.
Please.
So, yeah. So for one, I wanted to include the examples of, obviously we've seen the natural progression of evolution in animals like dogs. The pug has changed forms throughout
dogs
countless
have
years.
introgress genes.
All right, that was just my first one.
Yeah,
the
that's not one. That's introgression. That's not evolution.
All right, that's my first point.
Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, I was gonna mention evolution by natural selection too. We've seen that in forms of tribes in Africa developing sickle cell to combat malaria. So, do you guys have anything about that?
This is not explaining evolution in the engulfment.
Yeah,
it's an example.
Malaria comes from vector-borne diseases like mosquitoes, which also share the DNA with y'all, and it's also introgress. So, malaria, all the venereal diseases, those are lab-made and can only be found in the animals that are unnatural and within your DNA sequences. So, go ahead and tell us how evolution is real, because all you're doing is just telling us examples of existence of animals and how they're adapting to the natural universe. You see what I'm saying? And actually they're not, and y'all are not really adapting, because you need AI, you need different infrastructures to help you sustain life on this planet, because you will not be able to sustain life in nature without this system. This is why this system is here in place. This is why concrete asphalt is to disconnect y'all from yourselves and to disconnect us from ourselves.
All right. Thank you for introducing that. Let me get to the next guest. Mound Builder, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. How do you feel about the prompt using science, please?
It absolutely is. But I wanted to bring up a point that because I've been listening to y'all for a while. And I just want to say for the record that when you use discernment and just common sense, you're smacking the shit out of them. Like, I mean, really hard. And it's almost fascinating to watch it because it's like a science show. To listen to them when you catch them start to go in circles and just start regurgitating what it is that they were trained on. And it's sad because it shows that when they are engulfing this education that they have, they are just using no discernment at all. They are not putting the pieces together. They are just simply being trained. And I'm just sitting here listening. And every single time they get their ass smacked, they just turn around and start chasing their tail. I think it's fascinating to sit here and listen to it. And that's the other thing that I wanted to note too, is that you seem to have hit a dog that hollers a lot because it seems to be the exact same gen that keeps coming up. No matter which one in different voice, it's the exact same playbook, which is fascinating because it should have been different insults and things like that, but it's the exact same kind. Fascinating.
Okay, I got you with that. Gratitude for sharing that, my brother. Did you want to talk about the prompt at all?
No, I know that that evolution is an absolute lie. I'm way past that part. So yeah, I was just listening and saying.
Past it. Can you explain
So
it?
go ahead and explain it. Let's go ahead.
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead and explain it.
Why it's a lie?
Yeah.
Well, let me say this. Can I just use some common sense? One of the things that always bothered me about evolution is the fact that there are millions of people on this planet and their existence has been tried to be explained away with what do they call it? Albinism. And I always had a problem with that because I know that it's an impossibility for millions of people to be modeled like that, populations to be modeled like that, and it's a terrible thing to believe that, and nobody has ever witnessed evolution, right? So it doesn't exist in any part of nature other than in the schools. So my biggest problem with it is if you say that evolution is real, then you're saying that monkeys predate humans. And if that is the case, then those are your gods, essentially. So, and I end with that.
You know what I would say to you, my brother? I would say that you should rely on nothing outside of yourself. See what I'm saying? You should learn about your genetics and how it functions with the universe. You should learn about the masculine role that you have on this planet, all right? Because as in the enforcers and the protectors of our species, we have 8 million children that's going missing right now. We have 25 million children that's getting taught by animals about who they are. You see what I'm saying? So we as brothers, we should step up intellectually of who we are down to our DNA, down to all the way up to our organism. So we don't just pass down information physically, but we pass down information mentally through intellect. All right. I just want us to make sure that we consistently upgrade our intellect. And that's by learning yourself, learning how all of your cells function, all your organs function, you as an organism, how you function.
Yeah, we got to be able to articulate it. It's actually sad that these other people can argue or say anything and we can't. I tell y'all that all the time, and I'm not saying that with disrespect. I'm saying that with love, because if we know that they're not natural, then we got to be intellectually walking that shit down. We got to be tapping into our genetics. If we know that our genetics ties us to this planet, then we got to be embodying and expressing that for real. Because if we don't, who's teaching the children? This is about the next generation and passing truth to them, because that's what gets us out of where we're at. So we got to be able to talk about it. We have to. Discernment only gets you so far. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is like whenever we say that, our brothers and sisters always leave. You know?
He left?
Yeah, he left. See, we saying it with
You came up.
respect, and we're saying it with respect because we're trying to show our people that the truth is in genetics. Everybody and everything on this planet is doing what it does because of its genetics. So yeah, we're not playing with this conversation. We're using evolution, this title to actually, or this topic to actually express our connection on TikTok live when we really shouldn't even be in here. This is just a creative way to get our people to see it's deeper than where we're at on the surface. Every day we come to this app and it's surface level discussions and nobody knows themselves. Everybody got 9 ether this, divine this, mound builder this, chosen one this, but nobody can tell me about themselves. That's why we got to know it. All right. So, let's see, Cray Walton, you're still up here.
Yeah, I just wanted to pull up the definition of introgression because I don't know where you got your definition from, but here, just looking it up, it says introgression is the transfer of genetic material from one species into the gene pool of another.
Thank you.
It happens when two different species successfully interbreed or produce a hybrid, and that hybrid repeatedly breeds with one of the parent species over several generations. I have an example right here from a angiosperm flower, Trigopogon, that uses allopolyploidy, which is observed. There's literally images. I could pull up the images for you of the chromosomes. And so what allopolyploidy is essentially you have a hybridization event between two different species that have two different number of chromosomes. And those two different number of chromosomes, because of how meiosis works, you cannot, not interbreeding, well, it is interbreeding, but it's hybridization. You are hybridizing, right? And so again, I'm telling you that's the definition of introgression. You can like it or not, that's literally the definition. I'll turn my camera on and literally show you what's on my screen right now.
You just explained what I already told you, and you're trying to tell me that I'm wrong.
You said that it's
hybridization is what?
You said it's in vitro, but it's
not. What is
not
hybridization?
Is hybridization in vitro?
What is hybridization?
Hybridization is when one species breeds with another species.
That's not hybridization.
Then what exactly is hybridization then? Because
hybridization is the medium that fuses genetics together because species can't naturally procreate with each other because they're a different species.
So I'm about to tell you how they can.
No. Let me finish and let me respond to you. Species don't naturally procreate with themselves, right? Interbreeding is not something that is natural, right? In order for two different species to find each other sexually attractive, that is unnatural, number one, right? That is unnatural. Number two, hybridization is the medium that is used to fuse the genetics together. All right. So again, microinjection, cell sonication, transfection, electroporation. There's several mediums that you use to fuse genetics together. This is synthetic biology. Introgression is a branch of a study under synthetic biology and the creation of eukaryotic environments.
So I'm going to explain to you real quick. So first of all, do plants have like consciousness?
Yes, they are allomelanated.
Yeah, so everything in the universe is conscious.
Okay, that's fine. So can plants find each other?
Can they find each other? What are you talking about?
Like let's say that there's a plant on one side of a hill and a plant on another side of the hill. Can they find each other?
Yes.
Okay, and so how would they interact?
They communicate through the mycelium network. That's not the question.
Plants don't have mycelium.
There are unnatural plants.
Plants don't have mycelium. That's fungus.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you don't know about the planet, bro.
I said plants communicate through the mycelium network, dude.
Oh my gosh!
What's up? What's up?
They use the mycelium to communicate with each other through the roots. You know that, right?
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Oh no, don't say
You're
yeah
right.
now.
I jumped the gun. No,
Don't
I
say
jumped the gun. You're right.
now.
I jumped the
You
gun.
don't know what you're talking about. Everything,
Whoa.
all
I
the
just
chromosomes,
misinterpreted what you said.
Look,
You're
I
right.
got you.
Okay.
All the chromosomes and enzymes and protein enzymes that you're talking about is all in y'all. It's not in so-called black people. You're explaining your existence, trying to tell me that evolution theory is real. That's all we're saying. So
And that's fine. That's totally fine. But listen, okay. So
got you.
how does a plant? So here's the thing. Okay, they can communicate. How do plants breed? So how does the plant on one side of the hill breed with the other plant on the other side of the hill?
They breed with each other. They pass genetic material
Okay,
from
but
mother to
how?
daughter.
How do
if
they
you're gonna
breed?
ask me a question, you gotta let me respond to you, okay?
Okay, my fault.
Plants communicate through the mycelium network from mother to daughter tree. So their cells also split and undergo binary fission. Some plants, depending on the origin and which plant we're talking about, actually perform parthenogenesis, like bulbous plants. So your croquis, your onions, your spring onions, all these plants that have the bulbous actually don't undergo sexual reproduction. They don't need any type of germinating. They do it all on their own. So it depends on the species that you're talking about. Number
Okay,
two,
let's use an
when it comes
angiosperm species that has a stamen and a what is it called? It's the female reproductive organ. Female quotes, big quotes. Let's use angiosperms.
No. Are you reading?
Huh? No, I'm not. I'm literally just
So why are
saying.
you putting quotes? Why are you saying quotes?
Because there's technically no like male, female in plants. Like that's just like it's an arbitrary term that we came up with, you know.
Artificial selection, right?
But hey, you were talking about not interrupting. Like, please, I'm trying to be respectful. Okay, so I'm sorry for interrupting you earlier. Okay, I'm just trying to be respectful. So, let's use angiosperms plants, right? That have pollen, they have stamen, and they have I forget. It starts with a P. I just can't remember what it's called. But the quote female reproductive organ of the plant. How do they reproduce? And they have to reproduce sexually. How would the plant from one side of the hill reproduce with the other plant on the other side of the hill? Pistol, thank you.
I'm gonna need you to use TikTok friendly language, and we gotta say sexually. So the thing is, you're saying the plant on one other side.
How would they reproduce?
Can I actually respond to you, please?
Sorry, I was just confirming the question. Okay, sorry. Yeah, go.
When it comes to plants, you keep talking about plants, but you're not telling me which origin that they stem from and the type of plant and how they reproduce. All plants do not reproduce sexually. The plant that you're talking about, you're saying, how does it find another plant? Okay, well, what is this genetic expression? What is the embryological origin of this plant? There are prokaryotic plants that reproduce sexually, and there are prokaryotic plants that reproduce asexually. That's what I just explained to you. So you're not telling me anything, because when we talk about a forest, all plants, all trees in one single forest stem from the same embryological origin. They are actually one organism. Now you have a branch of science known as forestry, right? The scientists of that study is called foresters, and they're responsible for actually planting eukaryotic trees.
Exactly.
They're responsible for messing up the communication between mother and daughter tree for experimentation purposes only. They then create these organisms in these trees in ectowombs. So it's not just animals. Plants are also created in ectowombs as well. And when they're done creating these plants, this is what gets planted in the forest. So deforestation is a lot more broad than what the scientists are truly admitting, because there are several branches of science and several branches of biology. So that's the thing. We can't just talk about plants. We got to talk about the origin, the genes, the genetic expression, all of it. All right. Go ahead and like land again, and then I'll get to the next guess.
Okay. So again, I gave you the origin. I said an angiosperm plant. So that's the plant that we're dealing with. That's the type of plant. I'm not even gonna talk about how you said that there are prokaryotic plants, but the answer is pollinators will do that, right? You have a bee, you have a hummingbird, you have something that will come in contact with the stamen of one plant on the side of the hill. It will fly over, right? It will fly over the hill and it will go to a plant on the other side of the hill. This is sexual reproduction in plants, right? Now, what happens when you have a bee that takes the pollen from one plant of one species and then flies over the hill and it interacts with a plant of another species, and the pollen falls onto the pistil of the other plant species. Hybridization happens. And the way that it happens, please let me finish.
That's not hybridization. That's what I just explained to you.
You didn't let me finish. You literally didn't even let me finish.
Go ahead.
So what happens is a process called allopolyploidy. This means that during meiosis, you must have homologous pairs of chromosomes. They must line up, right? This happens in prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. Now, mainly this will happen in even prometaphase, in the metaphase or the prophase substages as well. Now, when this allopolyploidy event happens, there are not equal amounts of chromosomes, right? So one plant, let's say, has like 46 chromosomes. The other plant has 47. The only way for that plant to be able to survive is if it duplicates its entire genome. That way, both sets of chromosomes, the one with 46 that came from one species and the one with 47 that came from the other species, they now have homologous pairs that can line up and reproduce. They can undergo meiosis, right? And mitosis both. And so that is how the genetic material of one plant and another plant from two different species come together so that they can survive and reproduce. This happens. We have observed it. I have a paper up right now called Rapid Chromosome Evolution in Recently Formed Polyploids and Trigoploids.
So you lied. You are reading. So
no,
you don't know
I have
this
the paper.
information
No,
yourself.
I wasn't reading anything.
No, you said you had a paper up and you were reading. The thing is that
nothing I just said in this paper, I just said to you. Nothing.
Okay, I got you with that. The thing is that you're telling me about eukaryotic plants. You're not telling me about plants that have a single embryological origin. You're not telling me about those plants. You're talking
I don't care about that. You literally said the introgression.
Okay, so you're telling me that you don't care, but guess what? Evolution is not about that, okay? Evolution is about how prokaryotes engulf one another to create a eukaryotic organism. So you're starting me off at the latter half of the theory when I need to know the beginning of how it got here. I need to know the origin of the plant and the cell itself. Don't give me meiosis and eukaryotic processes when I'm asking you for how a prokaryote engulfed one another to create this organism.
And she was just telling you how the foresters go out there and put eukaryotic plants. Their mission is to go plant eukaryotic lab-made plants all over the planet.
Like, what are you talking about? So
that's doing these eukaryotic processes and disrupting the ecosystems, actually. So this is what we're saying. The papers that you're telling me, the lab experiments that y'all are doing in the labs, y'all are just telling us how you're working with eukaryotes and making the environment worse. That's all y'all doing. I'm confused here.
Exactly, and that messes up the communication but for the bees, because bees have been on the planet for millions of years. They're prokaryotes. They have a single set of chromosomes and all of their genetic material stems from one embryological origin. One queen bee can create an entire hive on her own.
Bees.
So the thing is that, so let me actually land. So the thing is that you are telling me about the origin of eukaryotes without the connection to prokaryotes. You literally came in here talking about introgression, not understanding that introgression is done with genetic engineering, meaning that UV light, magnetofection, transfecting cells, and microinjection is how you perform hybridization.
So
what you're talking about is pollination. These organisms don't become another organism from pollen.
I just explained how they did. If you don't like it, that's okay.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
I also just gave you the definition of introgression.
Hold on. Let me ask you a question since you're saying that. Okay? Let me ask you a question. Right now, outside in my flower bed, I have a stalk of daisies and I have a bush or a stalk of pennies, okay? Bees, squash bugs, ants, and other life forms, dragonflies all pollinate both of the plants. I have never, since they've been out there, seen another fucking plant arise because of pollination. These plants get pollinated and they produce the same fucking flower that they already are. They don't turn into something else. All right. Thanks for playing. Let me get to the next guest.
Yep.
So Joe Kelly, evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Cause we get passionate about that because y'all are trying to group us together and we're not the fucking same. All right. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to say that my people are the same and I'm tired of them being lied to.
And you really said
your
they have
scientists are the ones that are debunking this shit every day. Dr. Jack Cruz, Dr. John Biggerstaff, Dr. Danielle Silverman, Dr. Layla Africa, Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum, Dr. Ann-C. Brown, Dr. Richard King, Dr. T. Owens Moore, Dr. Carter. It's so many. Dr. Rupert Sheldrake. There's so many that Dr. Ella Al-Shamaha. You see what I'm saying? Look, I'll even throw out a neuroscientist right now. Dr. Susanna Herculano, she debunked the 100 billion neuron theory. Like, what are you talking about? So I got you with that. He left, so it was an accident. Just a humble guy. Evolution, the biggest lie ever told. Tell us how you feel about the prompt using science, please. You're on mute. Go ahead. Just a humble guy. Go ahead.
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. To me, all this some bullshit.
All right, so here's the thing, y'all. When y'all come up, bring science and leave your feelings.
Yeah, like when you come up and you just come up and tell us your feelings like that, you're letting us know how you treat your life on a daily basis. You see what I'm saying? And what's it called? Craig, yeah, you was telling us they made a second copy of their gene and they have to. The reason why they have to is that's a eukaryotic process that takes place within the eukaryotic cell, which is through translation and transcription. Spliceosomes literally splice those DNA into the shape that it needs to be. You see what I'm saying? So that lets us, and that takes 24 hours to do that. For prokaryotic cells, for black people, our cells split in 20 minutes.
Yep.
Y'all cells take 24 hours to split because of their mitosis phases that you were telling me about. So if this plant is doing that, that means they're not getting efficient energy from the sun and the planet. That means that they're not really getting fed the nutrients from other plants because the other plants recognize that plant as unnatural. And we've seen many synthetic biologists literally say out their own mouth that the natural trees will feed the unnatural trees less than everybody else. And they can make a distinction on who's natural and who's synthetic. Trees even know who's natural and who's synthetic in the womb of the earth.
Yep, it's called alloparenting. That's a phenomenon seen amongst allomelanated organisms, aka plants. They only pass genetic material and nutrients to their daughters. And when these organisms are planted in the forest, they communicate with each other to make sure that their children get the nutrition first, that their species get the nutrition first. And it's a damn shame as people, we can't do that. We can't put each other first, but plants can do it.
Yeah, trees and plants know how to put each other first and can distinguish natural from synthetic. We're over here asking each other, what's the source? Or the only thing we can come up here and say, oh yeah, the monkey's not here no more. Bro, we gotta upgrade our intellect, yo.
Bro, I just named 10 doctors, bro. Like, what's up, man? With the comprehension. I mean, did you just get in here? I literally just named like 10 doctors back to back. Some that are BLK, some that are so-called Dravidian, some that are so-called YT, and Mexican. I've named 4 different. So don't say that this is race or gracism or nothing like that. Because I just named you a Mexican doctor, a few black doctors, YT doctors, and a Dravidian doctor that are saying that we never went from haploids to diploids of a different species.
Yep, evolutionary biologists don't agree that microevolution within a species, within a certain kind of species, it doesn't account for the growth and the spawning of a new species. It doesn't. That's by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake, a biologist. You see what I'm saying? There's a group of the two species on this planet. Prokaryotes have morphogenetic field. Everything that's natural on this planet has a morphogenetic field. Everything that's unnatural, y'all have homeobox genes. You see what I'm saying? The genes that you have, you share that. It's called a family of genes, hamstrung genes, which means crippled genes. Those genes that you share with mice, dogs, cats, fruit fly, and everything else that's introgressed. So when these scientists in these DUMBSs, when they do scientific experiments underground, they literally can make y'all look like a fruit fly and a pig and a cow at the same time. You see what I'm saying? With the specific wings, eyes, everything that grows within that certain species. They can literally do that. They can literally turn genes on and off. Yes, they can literally turn. You see how you're talking over me? You see how you're talking over me?
Well, I mean, you guys are just talking it out. I mean, I thought this was supposed to be a discussion. You know?
It is. You don't
haven't-
overtalk people
yeah, you
while they're
don't-
talking.
Exactly, and you haven't
But, like,
again
I've been
proved
letting you
to
talk
us.
for, like,
You haven't
10
again
minutes.
proved to us your existence. You haven't told me why in your genomes, in your genetics, in your DNA, you share that with different animals that cannot reproduce with each other. Because DNA only gets passed down through reproduction. So if DNA only gets passed down through reproduction, how is it that you have cow DNA, dog DNA, rat DNA, chicken DNA, banana DNA? How is it that? And two, how did a prokaryote change into a eukaryote? That's all we've been asking. We answered all your question about the plants, everything you wanted to talk about, the introgression. We answered all of those questions. Can you now answer our questions?
So I don't even think that you answered all of my questions, but I will happily try to answer what you're saying. So how do we share DNA with a cow, with a pig, with with anything like that? And what you're saying is that how do we share genes with these animals when we can't reproduce with them? Well, again, the entire premise of evolution, and this is the thing that you guys have been strawmanning the entire time, which is that regardless of whether we can explain the exactly how a prokaryote became a eukaryote, which we have substantial evidence to suggest how we know this, but regardless of that, right, the fundamental theory of evolution, as we know it today, is simply the change in allele frequency in a population over time. The reason why this matters is because small incremental changes over time accumulate, right? So I'll give you an example. There's this thing called the citrate operon, right? It exists in E. coli. In oxygenated environments, the citrate operon is turned off. And the reason why it's turned off is because there is a specific transcription factor. It's called fumarate nitrate reductase. And this specific transcription factor dimerizes when there is no oxygen around because it doesn't get oxidized by oxygen because it has a sulfur iron core, right? This sulfur iron core, essentially, when there is oxygen in the system, in the cell, and anywhere, it oxidizes it, right? And so the citrate operon, right, it requires an anoxic environment, and it will produce, then it will bind to the promoter of the CYP-AB gene, right? The CYP-AB gene then gets transcribed, and once it's transcribed, it will get CYP-A will move to the inner membrane, and CYP-B will float around the cytoplasm. Then CYP-A has a paraplasmic loop, which will bind to citrate. Citrate will then cause CYP-A to have a conformational change to reveal phosphate. The phosphate will then phosphorylate CYP-B. CYP-B will then go to DNA, bind to the CYP C through G gene, and that will create the CYP-T protein as well as citrate lyase, right? And so this is an example of essentially, so that's how it usually works, right? But we did a long-term experiment of this. This was over. It's not for eukaryotes. E. coli are not eukaryotes, by the way. E. coli do not have membrane-bound organelles. They don't have a nucleus. They don't have anything. They are prokaryotes. So, going through this again, we did an experiment with this where we essentially, it was 30-year-long experiment over 30,000 generations. And this, it's not false. E. coli are literally prokaryotes. You can look this up. I'll look it up right now and put it up on screen for everybody. So essentially, we did an experiment with this, and we didn't. They have nucleoids, but they don't have a nucleus. Nucleus is different. It's membrane bound. It's a dimembrane, or it's a double membrane bilayer. And so essentially, we did this experiment, and what happened was a duplication event of the CYP or the CYP through G gene duplicated, and then a translocation happened where it got moved to the PRKA gene, right? Or the promoter, sorry, the PRNK gene, or promoter again. This caused citrate to be able to be used by the E. coli in oxygenated environment. And over time, we see that one citrate can accumulate these changes over time to create an entirely new species. That's what I was talking about with the Tragopogon. So again, the definition of a species, by the way, let's go over this because the definition of a species matters. The definition of a species is any two members of a population that can reproduce and create viable, fertile offspring, right? So again, that's the point, viable, fertile offspring. And so with the Tragopogon, I literally posted the DOI. Here, I'll post the DOI again for you. That's the DOI to the paper. They again went through that polyploidy event, which essentially created an entirely new species of Tragopogon. Again, Tragopogon is a genus. And so when that happens, right? And again, over time, there are individuals in even humans, right, that have larger spleens, that can hold their breath underwater for over 15 minutes. Again, anyways, it's just these small incremental changes that build up, and you share it because you share common ancestry. Now, I know when I say common ancestry, your first thing is going to be, oh, well, if you go back far enough, it's a prokaryote. Then how did the prokaryote engulf another prokaryote? And I can explain how it's not technically phagocytosis, but a phagocytosis-like event happened. And so we all know about microfilaments and intermediate filaments, which help with contraction of central vacuoles, of things like that, or the contractile vacuoles. These are things that exist in prokaryotes and eukaryotes. But the contraction happens, and the cell membrane is a fluid mosaic, and so it can stretch around. It's pretty flexible. And so there are small prokaryotes that are prokaryotes. I can talk to you about the origin of bacteria as well, but that would require me to go way more into organic chemistry because that's abiogenesis. We're talking about purely the creation of prokaryotes. And essentially the engulfment event happened. When this engulfment event happened, you got an organism, or we don't even have to talk about engulfment events. We can also talk about membrane duplication. So I guess you guys know about gram-negative versus gram-positive bacteria, right? So gram-negative bacteria have two membranes. They have an outer and an inner membrane, right? I could also be, I'll double check this because I could be getting this wrong. Could be flipped. And so they have these two, they have an inner and an outer membrane. Okay, yeah, so I was right. So gram-negative bacteria have this inner, they have this, gram-positive bacteria have this double membrane. Gram-negative bacteria only have two cell walls, right? And so this thick peptidoglycan layer. I'm just confirming what I thought. I know there are gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. I am just confirming the difference between the two, right? Reading. Oh, what a crime. Y'all act like you didn't read to learn what you learned. But anyways, so
yeah, but I'm not reading in this conversation with you because I understand the base premise. So the thing is, land your plane, and please explain to me how it is within the genetic material of a prokaryote to engulf another prokaryotic cell to create something outside of its species. We already talked to you the other day about the pond water, and we debunked you with that. Now you're coming today with plants. So how would it not be the case for water, but it would be the case for plants?
Well, first of all, I said that you could take a sample of seawater as well, and you just completely ignored that point when I made that.
Right, seawater of what origin, of what bacteria? That's what we asked you.
The origin of proteobacteria, cyanobacteria, literally any bacteria, they all originate in the ocean.
Do they all have the same? Do they all have the same? There's not all bacteria in the ocean right now does not stem from the same embryological origin. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and they all stem from bacteria.
So you're saying that the ocean is not contaminated at all right now? I just want to see what you're going to say. That the ocean is not contaminated at all right now?
Oh no, the ocean has plenty of pollutants.
Okay, then thank you.
I don't see what that has to do with anything, though.
Because if it's contaminated, that means that it has other organisms that shouldn't belong in the ocean.
How do you determine whether something belongs somewhere?
Where does contamination, where would it come from? Would it come from its own genome? Would it come from its own genetics?
So you're talking about
When we're
genetic
talking about the
contamination?
bacteria, look,
Yeah, the thing is, when you talked about E. coli, you told us about everything that's going on within its internal environment, right? But you're not telling us.
I told you about its genes.
Yes, that's okay. The cell's internal environment is its genes, right?
That's part of it, yeah. It's a lot more than that.
So why would you cut me off to say that shit? I got you though. But the thing is, what we're asking is, what is the protein enzymes within, like all of that, the synthesis, all of that? Tell us how that changed to make a whole new species. You're saying that a whole E. coli. You're telling us all about its genes, but you're not telling us how it created a eukaryote. You told us about protobacteria. You told us about cyanobacteria. You're just saying these things, but you're not telling us the change. You're not telling us that there is no change.
I did just tell you the change.
Today,
Did you not listen? Were you not listening?
We'll continue to do binary.
Wait. Steelman me. Steelman what I said real quick. Steelman me. What did I say?
bro, answer our question that we've been asking
because
for the last
you
2
clearly
weeks.
you clearly weren't listening. Steelman me. Steelman my position. What did I say about E. coli?
Look, I said what I just said.
You're not going to steelman me. Of course you're not going to. You're running. You're literally running.
You haven't answered our question.
Steelman my position right now.
This is your second week back.
You see how hyped you are?
Steelman my position. Steelman.
Hold on for a second.
Bro,
that's the same. That's the same type of energy that we've been asking you the whole damn time. How does a prokaryote that only reproduces through binary fission reproduce into a eukaryote that is now a heterotroph? You see what I'm saying? And now has to reproduce through sexual reproduction. That's all we're asking. You haven't answered that question.
Yeah. I was answering it.
No, you haven't answered that question.
I was answering it and then you cut me off.
Look, I'm not gonna.
So I'll give you this. First of all, you know that. Hold up. First of all, you know.
I'm not.
You know that bacteria did not start autotrophic, right? You know that, right?
Okay. Yes.
Do you know what the great oxidation event is? Hold up. Do you know what the great oxidation event is?
Okay. I'm not gonna speak over you at the same time. You feel what I'm saying? We're asking you one simple question. You see what I'm saying?
I was answering and then you cut me off.
Look, Cray, this is your second week back. You have never answered our question.
I was answering it and then you cut me off. And you can't steelman my own position back to me because you weren't listening. You don't listen. You have these talking points that are in your brain already that you just want to repeat and parrot over and over and over. You don't want to actually engage with what I'm saying.
We are engaging. We
then
want
steelman my position.
I don't know what the fuck you're saying with that. I just want you to literally explain to me the engulfment. You keep telling me about cyanobacteria.
I said microfilaments.
You see how you're over talking, bro?
That are in the genome. What are microfilaments and intermediate filaments?
You see?
You keep telling me these components, and we're asking you the origin of the cell.
No. Do you want the origin of the cell, or do you want the origin of the engulfment? Which one is it? Because I can tell you the origin of the cell. We can go through organic chemistry and abiogenesis.
Please tell us.
Go ahead and tell us how the eukaryote came into damn existence, my nigga. Stop trying
I'm literally telling you that intermediate filaments and microfilaments, both of these things are in the genome. They are coded for by your genome, right? These are the things that allow your cells to contract, right? They have elastic proteins that allow them to contract in and out, right? So they can contract. When they contract, they move the cell. They can morph the cell membrane around a smaller prokaryote, because fun fact, not all prokaryotes are the same size. Some prokaryotes are larger than others. And so larger prokaryotes engulf other prokaryotes using their contractile micro and intermediate filaments. The cytoskeleton, exactly. Thank you, bro. The cytoskeleton, that is exactly what it is. The cytoskeleton moves the membrane around an organism. Now, if you have an organism that has a thick cell wall or a thick defense like a cyanobacteria that has a thick cell wall that cannot easily be permeated by enzymes, digestive enzymes, the bacteria will not be unalived within the cell. When the engulfment happens, again, you can literally take a sample of ocean water and you can look at bacteria engulfing other bacteria. You can do this in purified environments as well in the lab. You can do this everywhere. You can see bacteria engulfing bacteria. Now, when you have a bacteria that was then engulfed by, let's say, another bacteria, a proteobacteria engulfed another cyanobacteria using its contractile micro and intermediate filaments. Those two things, now you have this cyanobacteria within this proteobacteria, and this cyanobacteria has a membrane, right? Has its own genome, its own membrane, its own cells, its own ribosomes. That is all what we see within the mitochondria. The mitochondria has its own membrane, its own cells, its own membrane, its own ribosomes, its own DNA. It's completely separate from its host cell, right? That's exactly what we would expect to happen if the mitochondria was its own organism. When we sequence the DNA from the mitochondria, it literally matches up with modern proteobacteria. When we sequence the DNA of the chloroplast, it matches up directly with modern cyanobacteria. Okay, so again, we are going to go back. How did it happen? Contractile, micro, and intermediate filaments engulfed a thick cell-walled cyanobacteria. That cyanobacteria did not die because it literally couldn't be permeated by its enzymes. We're talking things like serine proteases, catalytic triad, histidine, aspartate, arginine. Those are the three catalytic triads that allow for serine proteases to do their job, right? Let's talk metalloproteases, zinc 2+, magnesium 2+. Those are two metallic things that allow for the polarization of water to become a strong nucleophile, to covalently to attack the electron deficient covalent bond between two dehydration reacted polymers or monomers, right? So again, we could go through all this. This is how it happened. I just explained to you exactly how it happened. And if you actually, I'm not even done yet. I'm going to land this one more time. You asked, how does binary fission? Binary fission is simply the act of a cell dividing amongst itself. Mutations still occur. I explained this to you last time, but you weren't listening. And I want you to steelman me after I say this again. By the way, what is a steelman? A steelman is when you repeat somebody's argument to the best of your ability so that it matches what they actually said, so you can both agree on the position of that one person. So that's why I was asking you to steelman my position on E. coli, and you couldn't do it because you weren't listening, because you actually didn't know what I was saying, and you couldn't actually repeat it back to me. You couldn't steelman it. You couldn't tell me my own argument back to me. So let's go through this again. Now, if we want to talk about abiogenesis and binary fission,
we're not going through that shit again.
Let's
if
go
you've
through.
already told us,
You told me to land my plane. I haven't landed my.
Bro, you just said go through it again, and you're literally starting with abiogenesis again. You're literally starting with, abiogenesis again. Like, we're not doing that. Look, the thing is that just because a cell contracts and release does not mean that it will contract and release to create another or a cell of another organism. It doesn't express its genes to engulf, to create another cell, to create something that is completely outside of its genetics. If a prokaryote engulfs another prokaryote, they're still going to split through binary fission. They're still going to make replications of themselves. They're still going to get information through the sun because they're autotrophic.
And that's how I know you're lying, because all of those amino acids, all of those enzymes, all of those proteins that you name, even the cytoskeleton, all of those functions is not for the prokaryotic cell to engulf another prokaryotic cell. That's why prokaryotes have been here for millions of years without engulfing each other. They haven't been doing that, because how have they been here for millions of years and there's been a gap, a whole millions of years gap of eukaryotes not being here? So that means prokaryotes weren't doing that function. Something unnatural had to take place for that organism to do that. This is why we talk about not just one field of science, but multiple fields of science. Because knocking the Earth 40.4 degrees to the left off its axis, that is going to change how the Earth absorbs the interstellar gases. That is going to change how every organism utilizes interstellar gases, my nigga. So you're not telling me about none of that. All you're telling me is about these specific enzymes within the cell and how it's functioning. But those specific enzymes, I guarantee you, they don't do none of, they're not for the functioning to engulf another cell. If they are already naturally not hetero, if they're already naturally autotroph or photoautotroph, there's no way to become a heterotroph unless something unnatural, what's it called? Horizontal gene transfer has to take place. You see what I'm saying? Unless that took place. So what you're doing is just telling us the this is what y'all like doing. You like coming up and telling us the definition of things and how, and then add your own narrative on how it moves. No, that's not what's happening. We already told you that there's bacteria. It's called vitrosynthetic pyomelanated organisms. These are biological agents made to mimic prokaryotic cells. You have those type of organisms that have been here for over 600,000 years before you and your species was even a thought, all over the planet, affecting ecosystems. This is why organisms from the Carboniferous era to now have shrunken. That's why that's been happening. So with that shrinking of frequency within the cells, within every organism, that changed how the organism utilizes light, especially with the sun, with the earth rotation that I was talking about earlier. So this is what I'm saying. You're telling me about the elements of the cytoplasm. That's not, and telling me how it's propelling in and out. That's not telling me how it's engulfing the other cell to become another cell, because you're telling me the cyanobacteria doesn't unalive. Well, it's already a cell on its own that's already feeding itself. Now it's going to become another part of another cell to make that cell slower in metabolism, to make that cell slower in excitation. You see what I'm saying? So everything you're telling me is not evolution. You're telling me that these cells are doing this, and now everything is now to where we are on the planet. This is Earth right now, according to the Schumann resonance, has been sleep, has been dormant. There's been alpha and beta brainwaves going on with every species. So they haven't been awake and doing the primary functions of what they need to be doing. There's a lot of synthetic experiments that's taking place on this planet. That's what's been going on. That's been altering these pyomelanated organisms' course. That's what y'all don't want to add. You acting like these organisms be doing it naturally. No, because again, you're going to have to explain to me the 2 billion years gap or 3 billion year gap where prokaryotes was by them fucking selves. No eukaryotes. They were by themselves.
That means that they're the most compact and efficient organisms on the planet.
So the cyanobacteria that was already here by themselves, they were procreating by themselves. They were doing it through binary fission. So why would they go in as another cell to slow down the ATP synthase, which is that enzyme? So that's the problem, that you're not answering the fucking question. Because what is this cyanobacteria? What is the name of this cyanobacteria becoming inside of the cell? What is the name of that? Is it mitochondria? Is it endoplasmic reticulum? Is it histones? What the fuck is it? It's not going to be called cyanobacteria no more inside of the eukaryotic cell, or if it's engulfing, right? If this is constantly happening, y'all would have had a scientific name for that out. Y'all don't, because evolutionary biologists don't agree on evolution. So I don't want to hear that shit. That's why I'm saying all of them names that you came up and said, you're just telling me the processes that happening within a certain species, nigga. You're not telling me how it's changing into another a cell. Because again, the flagia on all of the prokaryotes or certain prokaryotes, they attach to each other to share light information, electrons. Yep. They don't come together to share genetic information, and now a third offspring is come
Have
about.
You ever seen electrons?
Vertical gene transfer.
A vertical gene transfer, nigga. So let's stop the
Have you ever
bullshit.
seen an electron?
Have I ever seen an electron? Yes, I'm sitting next to one right now. What's your point? Nigga,
We've
all
seen
so-called
electrons.
black
Look,
women on
you
this
should publish
planet,
that in the
shut your
paper.
mouth, my nigga. All so-called black women on this planet are electrons. And how do I know that? Because she has totipotent stem cells, which has the ability to create an organism from a single fucking cell, nigga. It doesn't need no genetic
We
material
all
from
have
no other
totipotent cells,
organism
man.
to reproduce. It doesn't need that. Y'all are the one who need genetic material from
We
other
all have
organisms.
totipotent cells.
Totipotent? What did you just say?
Totipotent?
Yeah,
Yeah.
totipotent,
Yeah,
totipotent. Look,
We
y'all
all
can
have
always
them,
try
man.
to get on
Everybody
me
has
for
them.
how I say the words, but I
No,
understand the functionality of the
I didn't
cell.
even
So
flame you. I said it. Then
I'm,
you asked
I'm,
me
I
how I
don't,
said it.
look, I don't care if you flame me or not. I'm just letting you know my energy, and I'm standing on that.
That's fine, bro. You
You
can stand
didn't
on that. I
tell me.
respect it.
You didn't tell me what the
Bro,
cyanobacteria became in the eukaryotic cell during
what
the
it
engulfment.
became an organelle.
It became an organelle. What organelle?
The chloroplast.
It became the chloroplast.
Yes, cyanobacteria became
But
the chloroplast.
cyanobacteria, no. But cyanobacteria is in oceans, my nigga. You're telling me that cyanobacteria. Hold on for a second. You're telling me that cyanobacteria became chloroplast, and chloroplast is an organelle only found in plants. That organelle, that
It's not only
organ,
found in
that
plants.
hold shut your mouth, my nigga. That small organ is
But you're
only.
wrong.
Hold on, because I'm talking and you keep trying to overtalk me when I'm talking. We let you say that whole dumbass shit out. Let me say my shit, nigga. You feel what I'm saying? So again, chloroplast is an organelle that's only found in plants. It's a miniature organ. That's all organelle means, my people. Don't let these people try to confuse you. All organelles means a miniature organ for the somatic cell body. So this miniature organ only works for plants. So how did it get into a prokaryote that had nothing to do with so-called plants, for one, and two, cyanobacteria is only found in the oceans. So what the fuck are you talking about? So go ahead and tell us how that change happened. You telling us all these things, but nothing about how it happened.
Yeah, I
You
literally
telling me
told you
about the
how it
parts,
happened.
but nothing about how it
I can
happened.
literally explain it to you again if you want me to. So we
Nah.
literally observed candidiasis. We literally observed candidiasis. Let me remember the name. Candidiasis uabamicrobium. It's a predatory bacteria. We've observed this. It's a gram-negative predatory bacteria.
Yeast. Are you talking about yeast?
No, yeast is not a bacteria. That's a fungus.
Well,
so I'm talking about candidiasis umimicrobium. I can't totally remember what it's called. Right? I just know the genus. The genus is
thought he was trying to say Candida.
Candidiatis. My goodness. Sorry, I can't talk. Candidiatis. It is a free living, right? I'm pretty sure it's free swimming, gram-negative bacteria. It is predatory. It has literally been observed to fully enclose another cell. And I can give you the DOI for that if you want, right?
Okay.
Like, we've literally observed this. We've observed this. Now, if you want to talk about binary fission and how one cell becomes another cell, would you say that the cell that has let's say that like a cell that engulfs this, like let's say that candidiasis engulfs a cyanobacteria, and that cyanobacteria cannot die because its cell
You gotta
wall.
say that. You gotta say unalive.
Sorry, can't unalive. Sorry, my fault. I don't want to get your life taken down. Can't get unalive because the enzymes that this bacterium produces cannot penetrate through the cell wall and attack the intracellular space of that cyanobacteria. So the cyanobacteria ends up living pretty much inside of this candidiatis, right? It starts living in there. Would you say that then the candidiatis now has essentially full autonomy over this new cell inside of it, right? This cell cannot move. It can't leave. It can't just leave and move away and, that's not how it works, right? So now it's pretty much under full autonomy, and we've observed this as well. Now, it's not in a prokaryote, but we've observed the literal hijacking of
Why
the
are we
DNA
talking
of
about it?
another organism.
Wait, why are we talking about it if it's not in a prokaryote?
No, I'm using another example. Let's turn on our listening ears, okay? So I'm using another example. I said we have observed this. I said we have observed this similarity in another organism that is not a bacteria, but the principle is the same. So in the same way that we both prokaryotes and eukaryotes both use RNA polymerase to do transcription and transcription, would you say that prokaryotes and eukaryotes are completely different things that have absolutely nothing in common, that have not a single thing in common, like nothing between a prokaryote and a eukaryote is in common, like nothing?
The only thing that they have in common is the fact that they're cells.
The thing
and what
is,
is a cell? What makes up a
the
cell?
thing
What
is,
makes up
the
a cell?
thing. Hold on.
What makes up a cell?
The thing is, that your DNA is what makes up your cell.
That's not what makes up your cell. What?
Your DNA.
If you just have free floating DNA,
Your
will that turn
DNA
into anything?
Heck, man, this nigga just want to argue. I'm telling you.
If you have free floating DNA, will that turn into anything?
What do you mean? Would that turn into anything?
If you just took DNA and you put it into a vial, would it turn into anything?
You can't extract so-called black people's DNA.
I don't care if it's black people DNA.
Yeah, but you can't.
You extract
You have to,
DNA?
nigga.
Into a vial and that will become a new bacteria?
You're saying bacteria, but you're not telling me about one that's coded in neural